Lulu, thanks so much for your time. I mean, we knew that the elections were coming, but the date that was announced today of the 30th of July, it seems quite soon, which raises questions about whether the country is actually ready to hold elections in such a short period of time.
Yeah, you do remember that beginning of, already there had already been plans by Zimbabwe that they'll be having elections between the 21st of July and the 31st of August. So there already had been plans from the ZTC itself. They already had put in plans. I think the fact that they've actually announced the election result, the elections to be taking place on the 31st, is because the Electoral Commission, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I assume that the Electoral Commission has ensured that all the necessary arrangements have been made to ensure that the election takes place. I think you do need to understand that the current president is under a lot of pressure. He's under immense pressure to ensure that the election takes place as quickly as possible, because he needs to legitimize his staying in office. So the longer the process takes place before an election actually takes place, the longer that process, is drawn out for him.
And talking about the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, I mean, they've gone through their own problems and issues. But do you trust, as an observer and as an expert in this space, that the elections will indeed be free and fair?
Look, it is very important. I mean, currently, let's look at Zimbabwe as a country. Currently, they're in a situation where administrative governance is in shambles because of previous elections. The elections previously had been, called sham elections with Robert Mugabe and a lot of rigging that was taking place. So it's very important for the current ZTC, as it stands, with the new chairperson, there's a new chairperson, Priscilla, and the CEO, the current acting CEO, and the president as well, current president. It's very important that this election comes off as clean as possible. Zimbabwe is really looking forward to economic growth. It's really looking forward to a proper administrative and judicial system where the country can start, having proper administrative governance that will govern the country. So I think, to a very large extent, one can only hope. As an expert in these things, you realize that one needs to realize what is it that is at stake for the country, as it were. And that the leadership of the country and the leadership of the ZTC itself needs to put aside whatever political differences that the country is facing and look at what the common purpose of the country is. And the common purpose of the country is renewal, regeneration, rejuvenation of the economy as it currently stands.
And this is the most contested election since Mugabe's rule. But many say that this is essentially a race between the MDC and ZANU-PF. Do you agree with that statement?
I do agree with that statement, because we have not really seen any other big political players in the spectrum. I mean, we do have Crisis in Zimbabwe Coalition, which really does come across as an NGO. But other than the two big, other than ZANU-PF and then the MDC, we don't see anybody else contesting that space as effectively as those two have been. So it generally comes down to that. It would really be interesting, though, to see with Morgan Tsvangirai, because he had a very loud voice. I mean, we're sitting from here, and throughout the continent, I'm trying to hear what both political parties are presenting to the electorate in terms of saying what is it that they're offering with the new political dispensation, with the new elections, what promises are they making to the people. And, it doesn't matter how much you go through the content, you don't seem to pick it up from both ends. So it's almost as though there's no election campaign that is also happening as heavily as it should be taking place. But, like you said, it is a big contestation between the two. It would be interesting to see how it goes.
How will it go? How are you calling it?
Oh, my goodness. I do think that, this is a dicey question that you're asking me. I do think that Morgan Tsvangirai was the face of the MDC for the longest of time. And as he stepped in office, he never really did introduce somebody else who was going to sort of take over if he ever passed on. And that in itself leaves his supporters in doubt and in limbo in terms of who it is that they're going to be backing for this election. And I think that really does leave his party a bit in the background for this particular election. With the ZANU-PF, even though Robert Mugabe, ZANU-PF, they played the card very well if you think about it, because with Mnangagwa coming into office, it looked as though it was ZANU-PF that was kicking him out of office. It looked like it was ZANU-PF that had made a decision that they're removing Robert Mugabe from office, and then so ZANU-PF had control of when the old man left the office. And on the basis of that, there's going to be some sort of confidence that is instilled by the people of Zimbabwe that ZANU-PF can still handle the country. So on the basis of that only, the one looks like they're still very much in control, they're in control of their destiny, while the other looks like they couldn't even decide on a leader that's going to take place, that's going to take over should the one pass away. So on the basis of that, chances are people are likely going to vote for ZANU-PF once again.
Well, Lulu, we will leave it there. Thanks for being bold enough to make a call. That was Lulu White, Rahim, who is the CEO of the Elections Consulting Agency of Africa.